Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.
Hello and welcome to a special interview for The Wire. With the Kuki Meitei clashes in Manipur dominating the news, most people seem to have forgotten that Manipur also has a substantial 24% Naga population. How do they view what's happening around them in their state? And what impact will this have on their lives, as well as their fears, anxieties, and aspirations? Joining me from Kohima is one of the most highly respected elder statesmen of the Naga community and the scion of a very illustrious Naga family, Niketu Iralu. Mr. Iralu, let me start by asking, how do you view the Kuki Meitei clashes in Manipur? The Kukis believe, and they've said this to me in interviews, that this is in fact ethnic cleansing by the Meiteis. The Meiteis, on the other hand, and again, they've said this to me in interviews, see this as the deliberate work of what they call Kuki narco-terrorists. As someone who's independent and as someone who's viewing it from outside, how do you view the situation in Manipur?
Well, it's a danger to all of us because those charges are very serious. And I'm speaking from Kohima, so I'm ashamed to say I do not know all the facts, all the details, but those accusations reveal the depth of feeling with which they're accusing one another. And I do not know what to say about the actual truth of those charges.
The trouble began after a rally on the 3rd of May, organized by the All Tribal Students Union of Manipur, in which both Kukis and Nagas participated. However, this led to Meitei Kuki clashes, but the Nagas don't seem to have been affected. How do you explain that?
I think all of us realize that there's ongoing negotiation for settlement of the Naga question between NSCNIM and the government of India. So it had dragged on for about 27 years now. And both sides, all involved, realized that getting that disturbed could lead to Nagas coming in all kinds of ways, asserting their position. And I think that is, to my mind, reading from here, is a very big reason for Nagas being kept like that, and they themselves not too keen to get in.
If I understand correctly, you're suggesting that because the Meiteis did not want to disrupt the government's negotiations with the NSCN, which have been going on for 27 years, they have deliberately chosen not to target Nagas.
Well, I think one doesn't know. Governments have all kinds of ways of doing things. Given the situation there and the equation of the two sides, whether the government has that kind of calculation and being more to the side of the Nagas, I do not know.
How do you view the Arambai Thengol and the Meitei Lipon? The Meitei say these are cultural organizations fostering and encouraging Meitei culture, Manipuri culture. The Kuki say that these are chauvinist organizations that are targeting tribals. How do you view these two organizations?
I think what they have done to Manipur, both sides, show that they're very strongly organized groups, and they have been the destructiveness has been extraordinarily on a large scale. And so these charges against one another, I think the government of India should somehow create a condition where the truth can be established, the facts can be established, so that there will be more fresh air coming in. Otherwise, there is no end to how one side can accuse the other, and it will get worse.
Now, today, Mr. Iralu, we have reached a point where I'm told there are no Kukis in the valley and probably no Meitei in the hill country. In other words, in effect, we've achieved demographic separation. On top of that, 10 Kuki MLAs, 7 from the ruling BJP, 2 from the Kuki People's Alliance, have demanded a separate administration, and they've made it very clear they're not talking about autonomous territorial councils, but they want either a union territory or a separate state. How do you view this demand for a separate administration?
I think it shows what the Kukis see that as to be their ultimate goal. I think that's obvious, and one can understand. And the question is, what we ask is, this government has been going on for all these years, and a lot of them are with BJP, and most governments are now allied with BJP as things happen like that in the Northeast. Why suddenly it has become so destructive? The destruction is, indicates that there's a lot of planning on both sides. And then it's gone out of control. Or has it gone out of control? Or is it, the question that leads on to why is it that the government of India sending paramilitary forces and security forces of all kinds, all groups, they are not able to bring down the flames, stop the flames, the fight, the violence.
Are you suggesting that this is deliberate, that in fact the paramilitary forces are deliberately failing to bring down the violence? Is that what you're suggesting?
I think so. Because there are too many examples already, even it's come on the media. That is... You see, how can that for 27 days now, I think, in a small state in the eastern end of India, so many men and women probably of the armed forces have been brought in. How come that at the end of it, just now the leadership has arrived? Amit Shah, the Home Minister, during the election that took place for the assembly, I'm sure you're aware that how many VIPs, the VVIPs from Prime Minister down, came and just stomped all over Manipur for the election. Now, what the present collapse of law and order? It's a much more serious problem where people are suffering, and that's where only the military sent in. As far as I heard, I may be wrong, but I heard that they were involved in evacuation.
You're saying a very important thing, and I'm getting you to clarify it because I think the audience will want to understand perfectly. You're saying the failure by the paramilitary to stop the violence you think is deliberate. And secondly, you're also saying that the decision by the leadership, the Home Minister in particular, not to come to Manipur until 2 days ago, but spend his time in Karnataka instead, is also deliberate?
This feeling has gained ground a lot in Northeast India. We're watching because it will eventually affect all of us. And therefore, you say, how come that the mighty government of India is one of the biggest military forces in the world, as far as we know, is not able to stop this?
Are you suggesting that the government of India is tacitly behind the Meitei and is perhaps tacitly encouraging them?
May it be wrong, but we suspect.
You suspect that?
I suspect. I'm just an ordinary citizen, but I'm reading the newspapers, and I may be wrong. I do not know the ground realities, but the ground realities, all the pictures and the stories coming out in the printed media, television, social media, they're
But
all
saying,
huh?
But then you are saying, Mr. Iralu, that the government of India is not playing a fair hand. They're taking sides against the Kukis. They are encouraging the Meitei. That is a fairly serious concern and charge you're expressing.
Well, see, for 25, 26, 27 days, how can it be that India, one of the superpowers, allows such a thing to go on? Because people are suffering terribly. Their houses all burnt. And then also, of course, houses of worship, different religions, especially as far as I can see. I'm a Christian. But I think the fact is over 200 Christian churches have been burned. Not just tribal Christian churches, but Meitei Christian churches. Is it what? Is it more than ethnic violence?
Can I ask at this point, is there a deliberate religious color being put here? The fact that 200 churches have been burnt, including Meitei churches, are RSS or Hindutva elements also involved with the tacit backing and support of the government in Delhi? Is that your fear?
I do not know the connection inside, but certainly the outcome is makes me to suspect that. I feel it very strongly, and I know many people. In the Northeast region, we are tiny states, fragile communities, and we are trying to speak up for our aspirations, no matter how small we are, because our history, we are just forming. It's very important for us. And then the thing like this happens, we find that Delhi is not acting as we expect Delhi to do.
Then let me ask you this. If Delhi is taking sides, if the Home Minister is deliberately prevaricating and delaying coming to Manipur, if the paramilitary are deliberately failing to control the situation, if Hindutva and RSS elements are attacking churches, then do you think the Kuki demand for a separate state or a union territory is justified?
Well, I can understand what the Kukis must feel after what they have suffered. And I am careful to say this, but I'm saying that the perception has gained ground, that it is more than meets the eye.
That means a Kuki separate administration is justified.
Well, I can understand their demand. How that will work out, those in Manipur will have to work it out. And those who are involved in the talks going on, the search together going on. But Mr. Thapa, we are touching issues that will need a lot of time. The temperature must be brought down.
Absolutely. I don't deny that.
Yeah, but that's why.
But as an independent, objective observer, do you think this would be the best solution? Because there is now complete distrust between the Kuki and the Meitei. Secondly, I'm told that there are no Kukis left in the valley, no Meitei left in the hill country. So we have effective demographic separation. Now, on top of that, when all 10 Kuki MLAs, every single Kuki MLA demands a separate administration, do you think, as an independent, objective observer, that is perhaps the best solution? It may not be a happy solution, but is it the best solution?
I don't know how that will work out, given the reasons for the conflicts, given the reason for the differences that are very strong, from what I know from a distance. But I have friends with all these communities, and we are all feeling so many things. We are neighbors, and but we have, because of difficult experiences in ourselves, all of us, how the solutions that would be good will be possible, we don't know.
Okay.
But we must respect the feelings and the demands for those objectives. Respect them, and then see how we can. That's where, how do we go to one another to it's a long business way ahead of us.
Let me ask you this. Do Manipuri Nagas want a separate administration?
Manipuri Nagas.
Do they want a separate administration?
Well, they've been that to be very clear for a long time. They've been wanting Naga Republic.
So Manipuri Nagas, Tangkhul Nagas want to join up with Nagaland as part of a greater Nagaland. That is their true wish.
That is the wish of the Nagas for integration. And again, one can understand why. But all these boundaries, we are just emerging from our isolated past. And as the centuries come and new centuries arrive, we find that many things have happened where details of which we are not aware. And so the integration desire is a very deeply felt thing.
I'll come to the Nagas in a moment's time. Let's first finish talking about Manipur, and then I'll come to the Nagas. I don't want to confuse the two by intermingling them. How do you view the role played by Biren Singh? BJP Kuki MLAs like Thoingaleng Muivah and even Wilson Lalam Hangshing, the General Secretary of the Kuki People's Alliance, who's a BJP, and I both have told me they blame Biren Singh for the problem. They say they've lost trust and confidence in him. They refuse to talk to him. How do you view Biren Singh's handling of the situation?
It's a very difficult question to answer. But what has happened under his leadership is not good at all. I think that's a very, very obvious fact I'm just mentioning. I can understand perhaps the compulsions that have made him to take such a stand. Obviously, there's strong, stirred up feelings supporting whatever policy he's pursuing. I can't say more than that.
Let me put this to you. The Kukis believe, and they've said this openly in interviews to me, that Biren Singh, for the last 4 or 5 years, has been accusing Kukis of sheltering illegal immigrants from across the border in Myanmar. He's accused them of steadily encroaching on forest land. He's accused them of being involved in poppy cultivation and illegal drug trading. How do you view these accusations? Is there any merit to them? Or are they an attempt by Biren Singh to give the Kukis a bad name?
Well, I think that kind of thing, as I said, selective mentioning of things happening, and then make it the main issue of the cannon, the bullet. That is understandable, but I think there are many others factors involved in such a clash coming out. I don't quite know how to answer this question, but as I said, all of us are selectively collecting points. We find out where others are wrong on some points, and then see. Yeah,
Mr. Iralu, can I put this to you? Mr. Haukim,
yeah,
and he's a BJP Kuki MLA.
That's right.
Emphasizing that he's from the BJP. He said to me in an interview that Mr. Biren Singh is anti-Kuki. He's prejudiced against tribals. He said he's a Meitei chauvinist. Do you agree with that description?
Well, I do not know. I cannot go that far. Only Biren and his creator knows. No.
Okay. Let's look at this from the Meitei point of view. After all, when there is a clash, there are always 2 points of view. The Meitei believe that the land balance in Manipur works against them. They point out that they are 53% of the population, but they are restricted to the valley, which is just 10% of the state. The tribals, on the other hand, who are mainly Kuki and Naga, are 40% of the population, but they have access to 90% of the state, which is the hill territory. The Meiteis, as you know, are not permitted to buy land in the hill territory unless district councils give them specific permission, which I'm told very rarely happens. On the other hand, the tribals can buy land in the valley whenever they want. As a Naga, how do you view this land balance? Is it loaded against the Meitei? Do they have a good cause to feel this is unfair?
Again, you see, for my visits to Manipur, what stays with me is that the lands of the tribes, the different tribes, most of them are rugged mountains. You can't have anything growing there, or not cultivable. And so how much is actually available for people to grow their food and earn their livelihood? I do not know. But those things are, we are making generalized statement and saying this and that. I think all these things need to be examined very carefully. The fact is, 40 members of the 16-member assembly, I think 40 are Meiteis. So at any stage, any situation, any crisis, the advantage is much stronger because everything is decided by votes, in the legislative votes for legislative measures. So you see, I don't know whether the Meiteis who are used to be in the valley or everywhere. I'm told in Silchar side also, Assam, they are used to be on the riverbanks and lakes. How many of them will go to the hills except as teachers, and they're the best teachers? When they actually have more by becoming recognized as an ST, will they go? We don't know. I think this is also these points will.
You raise this question about scheduled tribe status.
Yeah.
The Meitei believe that is the best solution to the land imbalance. They want scheduled tribe status so that they can buy land anywhere in Manipur, just as tribals can buy land anywhere in Manipur. How do you view the Meitei demand for scheduled tribe status?
Well, you know, I really hope my Meitei friends, all Meitei, don't misunderstand me. But for all these years, they have all the advantages. All the institutions of government, as far as I know, and this is always talked about, they have the upper hand, virtually completely, almost completely. Now, if they, in addition to all these years, now they decide to go lower down to those people they looked down upon before, just to have more facilities and privileges, will that solve? Will that solve problems for them, or will it just make others more helpless, the minority groups? Therefore, I feel, as I said, I want my Meitei friends to not to misunderstand me if possible. But that's my honest feeling immediately. This question: why should somebody from a higher level of social standing they've been very proud of for so many years, now come down after all the years they have developed themselves? And thank God, they have developed a lot of things in many ways. They are now come down. Is that a motivation, a thinking good enough for the Meiteis?
So
No,
are you saying,
I can understand. Yeah.
are you saying, Mr. Iralu, you are against scheduled tribe status for the Meitei? That's what it amounts to. Is that what you're saying?
I'm against.
Okay.
Because I don't feel it's right for the Meiteis.
It's not right for the Meiteis to demand scheduled tribe status.
Because they can handle it without being that. They can handle.
Let me put to you a different solution suggested to me in an interview on the 9th of May by Paulin Lal Haukep. And as I said earlier, he's a BJP Kuki MLA.
Yes.
He says the tribals by legislation should be barred from buying land in the valley. Would that be a way of solving or catering to the Meitei land imbalance hunger?
Well, I think that is, an interesting personal view of the Honorable MLA. But I'm told there are constitutional criteria for deciding these issues, changing of caste categories or schedule, the scheduling of these categories, social categories. I'm told that I'm not a lawyer, but therefore, will that be possible? What our Honorable MLA Kuki MLA said, and I think there's something that has to be left to the constitutional lawyers, the Constitution to decide.
Absolutely. The lawyers will decide how it is to be done, but do you think there is a good idea in that suggestion?
Well, I understand the feeling, but I don't know whether it's good or not. I can't say that.
Okay. Let's at this point widen our discussion, Mr. Iralu. At the core of the problem between the Kuki and the Meitei is the absence of trust. The truth is the Kuki is the absence of trust. The truth is the Kuki and the Meitei simply do not trust each other. Now, you have spent decades trying to bring Naga factions together. You understand what steps are needed to build up trust where there is none. What is your advice in terms of bridging the divide between the Kuki and the Meitei?
Well, who am I to give any advice? But in Nagaland, some of us have been really, in all humility, committed to bring healing and reconciliation to our fragmented society. And we can only share with anybody what we have tried to do and we are committed to do, because we are not going to give it up.
Could you explain that? Could you explain to the audience the 3-4 top steps you took in the Naga situation and how they could be applied to the Kukis and the Meitei?
I think we see, I believe that we should start in different tribes. A process of some individuals, there are not always many, who see the total picture and who will say, in this, we, our tribe, have to admit that we are wrong, not others. We are not wrong in everything. But in this we are wrong, not others, and therefore we are sorry, and we will put it right. And do actual restitution, which is always possible. That kind of thing immediately start to produce trust. And that is what the roadmap, we have worked it out, and it's a roadmap that we believe in, but we are not used to walking it. So it's very difficult.
Unfortunately, the line broke at that point, Mr. Iralu, but your first step is very clear. You said it is important for individuals in tribes to accept the errors and mistakes they've made, be open about them, and seek to rectify them. That, as you said, is the first step towards building trust. Tell me, what is the second and third step that you advise?
As I said, go to those people you have hurt or done wrong to, and actually start the process of talking it and say, for this, we are wrong, not you, we are sorry. And instead of just blaming them for what they have done. But you see, we in my village of Konoma, we found that at the end of at the worst part of the Naga struggle, most violent years, we found that our village had lost all its spirit. And the elders who always guided the village and guided them very well in the past centuries, we found that they had no more authority. The young people did not listen to them. And a number of us, 21 of us representing 3 clans, were asked to look into it and do whatever is necessary to restore the health of our village relationships. We identified that the 22 killings that had taken place in our village, where our village had killed one another, clans had killed one another. And we found that unless we touched that, we were going to go down further, because our forest was being damaged by young people who did not care at all to preserve our virgin forest, very beautiful forest. And long story, but we resulted in getting all the killings processed, in the sense that our commission got those who have done the killing or their family members who are no longer alive. They went to the other side, those who had suffered because of them, asked for their apology, to forgive them. Before that, our commission members prepared both sides. Both sides, those who had done the wrong thing, said, we are afraid to do it, but unless we do it, we are destroying ourselves. And those who had suffered said, if they will come, we will, for the sake of our children. Our children, our future generation are becoming hopeless. You see, in this case, each one, they said, we were the ones who killed your people. Very specific. And we do not know what to say, but our village is being destroyed because of killings like this. We ask you to forgive us and ask heaven to bless us. If you ask heaven to bless us, then it is complete.
And you're saying the Kuki and the Meitei must do something similar with each other?
I believe unless what we are trying to do in Nagaland, unless we do that, we do not heal the hurts. And I would like, if I may, I would like to quote Richard Rohr, the Franciscan monk who's saying a lot of things these days. He said, hurts not transformed are always transferred. Hurts not transformed are always transferred. We find that is a very terrible truth, a wonderful truth or terrible truth.
That is why healing hurt is the first credible, important step.
That's it. Then trust returns. If trust comes, anything can be done. Northeast will become very energetic, vibrant. Otherwise, we are going down. Let
me come to the Northeast at this point, because it's not just the Kuki and the Meitei, but all Northeastern states cherish their unique identity. They wish to preserve and protect it. Now, this is precisely what Article 371 is created to do.
Yeah.
But after the Modi government abrogated Article 370, and despite the fact the Modi government has repeatedly said it won't do anything similar with 371, are there fears and question marks in the minds of the people of the Northeast? Is a trust deficit emerging between the Northeast and New Delhi as a result?
Definitely. Definitely that we really, I'm sorry to say, what happened in Kashmir, we said, well, that is not worthy of India. That is a strong element of vengeance. That's too disgraceful, too small, too tragic for India. For a mighty nation with such an ancient history and great value guiding this ancient civilization, to do such a thing to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. I mean, we all said, all of us want the highest to win, although we're never doing anything to make that real. So that's an instance. Now, if they're going to do this, this kind of thing to solve problems, will they do something like this to solve what they think is the problem here?
That is your fear. That is your fear, that they could abrogate 371.
That's our fear and that's our despair, because we are so small.
In which case, let me ask you this. How do you see the Naga peace talks, which have been continuing for 27 years, but have been clearly stalled for the last few years? You've already said that the Meitei have deliberately not targeted the Nagas in Manipur because they do not want to damage that peace process. But the peace process is stalled. Since 2015, it doesn't seem to have advanced. How do you see that peace process? Where is it?
Well, we are hoping that after all that we have heard, although we don't see how, but we are hoping that this can't go on longer, that the settlement will come, which will be honorable, because it is both sides see that to be the maximum they can achieve. I do not see whatever settlement comes, we have to get down and heal the wounds of our society, the hurts that have damaged us, the poison that have accumulated.
Mr. Iralu, healing the hurts and wounds will happen only after there's a settlement. At the moment, the settlement is stalled, both because of the demands being made by Mr. Muivah and the NSCN on the one hand, and the government's refusal to concede them on the other. Mr. Muivah is insisting on a separate constitution and flag, and on what he calls Greater Nagaland. The Modi government has categorically said it cannot accept any of the three. In this situation, in these circumstances, what is your advice to both sides?
Well, my advice to our side is, let us achieve trust within Naga society, Naga tribes, Naga, now so many factions, by implementing this, working on this roadmap that I said. Be honest where we are, our tribe, our faction is wrong, and leave the others, inspire them to do their part. I don't see it's so difficult. We are not used to this kind of thinking, but without that, I'm afraid what's a settlement? A settlement may come because government is also too tired, our side is too tired.
But what about the demand for a separate constitution and a flag? Kashmir, before the abrogation of Article 370, did have its own constitution. It did have its own state flag. Both of them now have ceased to exist. Yet Mr. Muivah is insisting on a constitution and a separate flag for Nagaland. He knows that the government took it away from Kashmir, but he still wants it for Nagaland. Where do you personally, Mr. Iralu, stand on the issue of a separate constitution and a separate flag for Nagaland?
You know, I feel this constitution, flag, sovereignty, Naga should realize that India cannot handle it. India is a very, very ancient civilization, but its democracy is as chaotic as we know what it is. Democracy cannot handle, its parliament cannot handle the question of the sovereignty for the Naga claim for sovereignty. Although I am quite clear that the facts, the historical facts for which we claim that are unquestionable, because they were before we did not fight in India, we did not fight Burma, we fought the British. And before the British left, we made clear that we retain the right to decide our future. Now, I think no use talking about sovereignty at the moment because India cannot discuss it. And we must understand that. And therefore say it is India's problem, not our problem. Keep it on the shelf and get down to run the state that we have properly, to develop our people properly. And
Can I interrupt? Because you said
yes,
two very important things and I want to clarify them. A, you said India's parliament cannot handle the Naga demand for sovereignty. And secondly, you said, keep it on the shelf and let's get on with other things. Are you saying directly to Mr. Muivah, don't insist on a separate constitution and flag? It sounds as if that's what you're suggesting. I'm asking you to clarify.
Well, I fully understand why Muivah is taking that stand. But I'm saying that India, I don't see how India can handle it, because it immediately goes to the question of sovereignty. And so say that the whole thing, we have done as all that we can to show what we mean, that by what the stand we have taken. We're not guilty. It is on the basis of our history that we have defended this, and therefore leave it there. I really wish that the NSA and IM will to think in those terms, because the reality is, for so many years, for the Indian Army, we can't defend the Indian Army. We don't need to be ashamed of that. And unless we can defend the Indian Army, we can't have anything that we're stating is our position. India cannot.
Therefore, once again, you're saying it very well and cleverly, but I want you to clarify. You said leave it there. We can't defeat the Indian Army. Leave it there. You're saying leave the demand for a separate constitution and flag aside. Get on with the rest of the relationship. That's what you're saying, is it?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah, I believe, India cannot handle it. I think any prime minister of India, when India became independent, had to defend the map the British gave them. And if Muivah was the prime minister of the new India instead of Nehru, he would have defended the map of the map the British gave to the new India. Therefore, we should give that understanding, and yet say to India that, look, we're not against you, we're not anti-you, we're not anti-India, but we're saying that we were not part of that map that the British gave you according to us. But we are so small, so small, that nobody knew what we were saying. But for us, it is our understanding of our history, and we feel it is sacred for us, and we should be worthy of it by beginning to run I believe, the state of Nagaland, I'm speaking from Nagaland here, the state of Nagaland is the first illegitimate child of the Naga crisis, Naga struggle. So it came out of the Naga crisis, Naga struggle. I believe that the Naga National Council should reclaim the state and say it's our illegitimate child, and let us use it to develop, because India will not leave this child. India cannot leave.
But again, I don't want to get lost in detail, because the country won't understand the detail of Naga history. But the main point you've made is one I want to repeat. You're saying to Mr. Muivah and the NSCN, but you're also saying to the Indian government, put aside the demand for a separate constitution and flag. As you said, put it on the shelf. Another time you said, leave it there and get on with the rest of the relationship, because you cannot defeat the Indian Army. Get on with the relationship, develop the state, and put aside the demand for a separate constitution and a flag. That's what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah. Put it aside for the future Nagas. When Indian parliament democracy is mature enough, strong enough to handle any question, at that time, let the future Nagas decide what they will settle with in India.
That is very clear.
Well, that will be 200 years, 300 years, I don't know. But
that's very clear, sir. Put it aside for future generations, when as the Indian parliament is more mature to handle this, and when the Nagas are in a better position. Put it aside for now.
Yeah.
This is not today's issue. Put it aside. One last question. The Nagas are 24% of Manipur. At the moment, they are part of Manipur. However, Mr. Muivah and the NSCN are demanding that the Manipuri Naga should be incorporated into Greater Nagaland. They are called Tangkhul Nagas. Mr. Muivah is a Tangkhul Naga himself. This is therefore, I presume, a personal, emotional issue for him. How do you see the future of Nagas in Manipur? Do they wish to be part of Greater Nagaland? Because that would also involve Naga areas from Arunachal Pradesh and other states getting incorporated, and that could create federal problems for India. Or do you think, let things be as they are, leave it once again for a future wiser generation Don't make it an issue today.
Yeah, I think at the moment these boundary lines really cannot be touched because there are electoral problems. Election time, a party that says, okay, we will give that to them because we realize they have a good claim, that party will just disappear in no time. So it is going to take time. As Governor Ravi of Nagaland had said on one occasion, all these questions are political processes. And many of these things take many years to resolve themselves. What I'm suggesting is that unless we get to developing ourselves properly, we are going to destroy ourselves.
So once again, you're saying, just as you said over the issue of separate constitution and separate flag, you're also saying over this question of Greater Nagaland, leave it, do not bring it up now, leave it for future wiser generations to sort out 20, 30 years or whatever. Don't make it an issue now.
And that's what I believe. Because you see, last time, the area of the ceasefire agreement area came into the negotiation talks. 18 Meiteis were killed. They gave their lives. Well, we are sorry that they suddenly killed themselves like that. But it shows that it is going to be very, very costly. And with that kind of a solution coming, are we going to be able to do anything? Any one of us?
Your priority, it seems. Your priority, it seems, is the development of Nagaland, the healing of hurt within Nagaland, the progress of the people of Nagaland. Issues like separate constitution, separate flag, or Greater Nagaland should be left for the future, for wiser parliaments in Delhi to handle, for wiser generations in Nagaland to pursue. Don't make them critical issues today. That is your position.
My position is not just Nagaland, but we have to create a wider common stability for the whole Northeast, from Bodoland right up to Manipur border, to Arunachal. Unless we achieve a common stability, there's not going to be any development. We're so used to calling bans on one another, we have realized that this is not sustainable solutions. Therefore, this thing, a wider common stability, will have to be achieved by all of us paying the price for it, realizing that we have, as neighbors, have to bring in goodwill for one another. Okay. And that will be the actual growth of the whole Northeast. Although we're going the opposite direction, and we cannot play with this kind of just ourselves and to hell with the others. We cannot continue with this any longer.
Mr. Iralu, let's leave it there. You've said some very important things, both about the Kuki Meitei clash within Manipur, but also about the Naga talks with the government. Both are separate issues, but on both you have spoken your mind, you've spoken honestly, and I think many will welcome what you said, but I'm sure there will be several who will be critical as well. I thank you.
Definitely. I wish we could discuss with people like you, because that's a very big issue, and I have many more ideas. But, I would like to add that, when we have such violence taking place in Manipur for this time, how come that the Prime Minister keeps quiet? How come the Home Minister keeps quiet? They don't say a word when the worshipping places are desecrated, or, priests are killed or lynched elsewhere. We cannot understand why the Prime Minister of India is not saying a word. He's such a great figure in the world. Is Modi the Prime Minister of only the BJP party, or is he the Prime Minister of the whole of India? Likewise, the Home Minister Amit Shah, is he the Home Minister only for BJP party states, or is he the Home Minister of the whole of India? No, these questions are, I feel that the leadership, the BJP leadership, and whoever go along with them, project the, building up this thinking that is pushing them, why they keep silent. I think they should realize that this is very dangerous for India. And you see, earlier I was trying to say, a big sinkhole has formed in Northeast India. All are being sucked into it. And all the chief ministers of the Northeast are realizing that their politics are being paralyzed because of that thing.
I'm going to end the interview there, but I'll repeat for the audience that critical question you raised just a moment ago. Why is the Prime Minister of India not saying a word about what's happening in Manipur? And you ask, is he the Prime Minister only of the BJP? Or is he the Prime Minister of the whole of India? Why is he silent? And this connects directly with what you said in the first half of this interview, when you felt that the failure of the paramilitary to bring control in Manipur looks deliberate. The delay of the Home Minister coming to Manipur and choosing instead to campaign in Karnataka looks deliberate. And you also suspect that the targeting of churches, 200 in all, including Meitei churches, looks deliberate, as if the RSS and the Hindutva are playing a religious card. You've raised questions that concern the country deeply, and I thank you for doing so. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Iralu. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you. May our suspicions be wrong.
I endorse that, sir. But the important thing is you voiced your suspicions so that everyone knows that those suspicions exist. And suspicions can only be proven wrong if people address them and go out to prove they're wrong. If they are not addressed, those suspicions become factual. Take care, sir.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Karan Thapar. Over the last few years, I hope you've been watching my program, The Interview on the Wire. During that period, I've interviewed doctors, politicians, businessmen, scientists, authors, and even the occasional Nobel laureate. For me, it's been exciting. I hope it's been enjoyable for you. But these, as you know, are tough times, and if this program is going to remain bold, independent, and sometimes even defiant, then I think we need your support. At the end of the day, it's a truism, but editorial independence is best defended by the viewers. So if you would like this program to remain the way it is, forthright, outspoken, and interesting, then would you consider supporting us? All you have to do is to click on the description at the bottom. But more than anything else, I hope you will continue to watch the interview. Your viewership means an awful lot to me.